Hey folks, how's it going? I just wanted to let you know what we're doing this morning. We are going to head outside to do a container tour. So I believe, you know what, we're gonna count them as we go. I think I have 18 to 20 containers that I wanna show you that I planted up in the spring. You're gonna see some of my mums now because it is after Labor Day, so some of my mums are potted up. But really I wanna do an update on how the containers look, what's in them, what's done well, what hasn't, and I'll be back at the end. All right, we are going to start right by the back gate with this, I think it's about a 16-inch container. I have had trouble with this one, but let's look at what's in here. We have the purple nemesia, we have snapdragons, we have the angel face angelonia from Proven Winners, and we have superbena. I'm sorry, this is not actually a Proven Winners, this is a verbena. Looking a little weather worn. It has been raining, so the angelonia is being pushed down by the rain, but I did have to replace the angelonia in this container as well as the other one. I don't know if they just got too much water early in the season, but I did replace them. The nemesia is actually starting to look a little better since I cut out the basil. There was basil in here. So I did cut out the basil to give a little more room to everything else. I did plant this container up the same. This one's looking actually a little drier, even though it's been raining. I believe the angelonia has taken a couple of hits from my dog. There is one growing right there. It's looking nice. There is verbena. And there's the nemesia, and I cut out the basil on this side as well, and snapdragon. But this one took a little abuse from the dog, so again, a live and learn experience. Now my smaller terracotta containers, I just move them around all the time. This had just the hippo pink hypoestes, the pink polka dot plant. This has a coleus and a begonia. And then this one has just a begonia. And for most of the season, I had these three sitting together like this, so it looked like one big container, even though you can see there are different terracotta pots. So I have two of the square and the one circular terracotta. These are my caladium bulbs that I planted in here way too early in the season. So I planted this up in March, and I'll see if I have a picture I can show you. And as you can see, I had violas in there, and I planted the bulbs at the same time. It was way too cold, and it took a really long time for the caladium bulbs to warm up and start growing. They're looking nice now, but it was a very short caladium season for me. This has been one of my favorite containers. It is a plastic container. I think I got it at Tractor Supply. Just 3 strawberry plants in here, and they've done well. They're actually flowering up really nicely right now. Okay, and behind them are 3 more of the 16-inch pots. They were planted exactly the same, but they look so much different. I have lamium, 1 plant in each. I have coleus in each, and hippo pink hypoestes. Oh, I'm sorry, and a begonia in each of them, and I feel like I've lost the begonia in 2 of them. I replaced this begonia, and this one was looking lovely. It's an angel wings, but again, it all of a sudden looks not good. So coleus, and this one's looking a little better. The plan was to spread these out along the patio, but they needed more sun than they were getting, so I ended up pushing them together. So there are 3 pots right next to each other at this end of the patio. At the opposite end of the patio, I have a rain barrel with a planting space on top. Oh, this has been tricky. It does get really wet in there, and you can see there is a drain hole and the water is coming out right at this moment. It's actually coming around the lip. But there was a begonia in there. Actually, the begonia is still hanging in there, at least the plant is. The hypoestes and coleus. The coleus is still trying for it. Now back here in the pollinator garden, I do have 2 hanging baskets that I've set on the base around the old light post. There was 1 angelonia and 1 nemesia in each. There were pink nemesia and the blue angelonia. The angelonia still looks good. The nemesia is not flowering as much, but the plant looks good. I may try cutting it back. I don't know that it loves the sun quite as much as I thought it did. I took it down so that I could consistently water it though. This planter also had the begonias, coleus, and the hippo pink hypoestes, as well as a house plant that I don't know the name of. See if I can zoom in on that. But the coleus is doing really well in here. The begonias are actually hanging in there also. Okay, right here I have a trio. On the ground is the Super Bell's Pomegranate Punch. This one is a mix of coleus and begonias. And then in the back is the oak leaf hydrangea and a 6-pack of begonias that was planted around the bottom of it. And then my Super Bells right here are a little waterlogged, but they were doing really well. When the sun comes back out, I think they'll be just fine. I think they do well in hanging baskets here because they're allowed to dry out. It has been a little wet the last 3 days, so a little oversaturated. Along the front of this front garden bed are 3 containers. They started out matching. This coleus I started from seed, so I did pop it in here. I only had one seedling, so I put it in this container. This coleus was part of a 6-pack that I got early in the spring. The hypoestes and a non-stop pink tuberous begonia that actually just has been non-stop. It just keeps going. Here's the next one. They only had I think 12 of the non-stop pink, so I ended up getting this angel wings begonia, and it's also done really well. So the coleus, actually this is the exact same coleus, and it must be just the direction. This side of the container gets morning sun. This side of the container gets more of that heavy afternoon, evening sun. So there you go. I'll step back and give you a look at that one. And this is a rectangular container, where this one is a round 12-inch container. Okay, this last one is a repeat of the first. It's getting shrouded by the limelight hydrangea. But coleus, hypoestes, the hippo pink, and non-stop pink begonia. That one is really looking very robust. So there's just one in there. Let me see if I can possibly, there we go, hit the non-stop pink. It's probably the best looking one out of all 12 that I planted. All right, we're gonna come back to the osteospermum, which is just in a small container. I probably planted this in July. I could probably deadhead it and see. It does have new buds, so I may still get some good production out of this month. This is the Superbell's Dreamsicle, and it was tipped over, so it is not getting as much water as the rest, but it is still doing okay. And this container has the calendula. I'm going to plant this calendula in the ground right where it's sitting. So right in that spot in front of the rose. And lastly, we have this bucket that I planted. And these two plants are actually, their root balls are inside the bucket. So I did tip the bucket on its side and plant in it. So we have the Supertunia Mini Vista Snowdrift, and I don't know the variety of this coleus, but man, it's really a spreading coleus. I may try to find a more upright coleus for this spot next year, or just try something different. I do like the white pop in here as well. So this has done very well. Let me back up. You can see the white, you can see the coleus. All right, I'm back, and I think I managed to not get the fall containers in the video. We'll do that video for another day. So lessons learned, the tuberous begonia want way more light than I was giving them, more sun, maybe more heat. And so the ones in the front did much better than the ones in the back, and not as much water as they were getting early in the season. So lessons learned there. I liked the hypoestes in certain containers. I think they didn't want as much light as I was giving them. So, you know, kind of learning for next year. I think I would repeat the hypoestes. They did well in the smaller containers that actually sat on the patio and really didn't get a lot of direct light. I was able to move those around because they're smaller containers. And, you know, kind of if it was raining, I could move them so they could get some rain and get a little of the lighter condition. I loved my sun containers. I love the Angelonia. I think I liked the verbena in the ground much better last year. I think I have a picture. I'll show you that. So I think that next year I love that color, that purple color of the verbena. But next year I think I will put verbena in the ground. And I really liked the Supertunia Mini Vista Snowdrift, but it was kind of being pushed over by the coleus. So I think the combination of the bluish verbena with the white of the snowdrift would be great together. So I think I might try that next year in the ground, in the same spot where the snowdrift was this year. So the pots, the thing I learned about the pots is that I need to move them away from the edges of the garden because the dog cuts that corner really sharply. So she either goes over the container or hits it. Not that she knocks it down, but she moves it. So I've noticed I've had to move them several times. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the containers right now, so sorry if my eyes keep wandering. But she hits the containers. I don't know that that was the best location, so I'm going to move them in a little in the garden. Still on the lawn, the patio stone that they're sitting on. I'll move those in, and the containers can sit on that. But a little, I don't know, maybe a third of the way in from each end. That gives her room to cut that corner and still use the yard. I do love them. I think they're beautiful, and they do need the full sun, and it's a really sunny spot. So the Nemesia and Angelonia in the back containers, I think they need to be on the wall, and I need to break down and get myself a retractable hose. I am going to, I think for my Christmas present, get myself a hose link and put it in the backyard, because then I can I can pull it out and use it if I want to use the oscillating sprinkler, or I can just use the wand and spray those containers and the strawberries. The 50-foot hose just wasn't quite long enough to reach the farthest strawberry containers, and I need to do that. So I was watering by hand, you know, taking a bucket of water or the watering can and watering those by hand. And I would like to stop doing that. Hose link is on my Christmas list for myself. And I think those containers will do better on the wall like they were last year, hanging and getting the appropriate amount of water. So not over watering them, but getting them the appropriate amount of water. They'll do just fine. And my Super Bells container, I also need to just possibly break down and do drip system in the front, maybe. The yellow Super Bells were gorgeous the majority of the season, until like it cooled down, and they were doing so well, and it rained and they looked great, and then I totally forgot to water them, and not so good. I'm so sad. I loved them. So those are my containers. I hope you guys learned something. The strawberry pot was great. The strawberries, the 3 ever-bearing strawberry plants did great in the container. I was a little worried for a while, but once they got going, they have been giving me strawberries for a good month now. The thing about having 3 plants is that you don't get a lot of strawberries all at one time. So what I've been doing is harvesting them, flash freezing them, and then putting them in a Ziploc bag, so that at some point I can have, you know, enough for a recipe, or I could have a couple of bowls of strawberry, that sort of thing. Because if I just eat them, it's just like 1 or 2 at a time. So that's the deal with the ever-bearing strawberries. All right, guys, that's what I have. I hope you guys are having a great day. My hair's a little wet, but you know, life in the garden. All right, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.